This is a reading from the forthcoming book, They Think It's All Overs. In this, Frank Cunningham is a bemused and agitated captain of a third team playing league cricket. He has unrealised ambitions of being a writer and sharing his love of literature and learning and his huge amount of knowledge. It is also his desire to teach his team, particularly his young charges, how to play cricket. His concern with his young charges is, of course, that they are impressionable and misguided. Impressionable and misguided in life because they just don't know what they ought to know, and impressionable and misguided in terms of cricket because they accept unquestioningly all the ceremony that goes with franchise cricket and thereby lose out on everything that the proper version of the game has to teach them, all the values and skills that go with that. In the form of a match report each week, Frank assesses his team and their performance and a lot more besides. This is done in order to set out vision and drum home the need for discipline. The reading is taken from a report he titled Upon Moss, from the chapter of the same name. At this stage of the season has gathered pace, and Frank is starting to despair of his team's performance, as well as the ordeals that cricketers have to submit themselves to each week in order to just get to a game, supposedly under the guidance of the league. On this occasion, he is dissatisfied with the distance they have had to travel and the state of the pitch when they arrived there. Then there is his team's abject performance to deal with. He implores his team to stand for change, the right kind of change, of course, and he links this to the botany of the venue that they have had to play at. So here it is, Upon Moss. A snooker establishment I used to frequent in Deptford High Street was run by a wizened old geezer who knew all that went on in the hood. His voice was that gravelly, intoxicating sound of one who has not just smoked 1,000 cigarettes in his life, but is currently chewing one, a light, while talking to you. I liked him instantly. On my first visit there with my friend, I asked how long till a table was available. His response was to turn the question back on me. How far's Southend in traffic? I caught his meaning, of course, but fell into his trap. I was a young student and don't think I had been to Southend at that point. I don't know, I said. Exactly, he said. So we waited. And now here I am, fully 30-odd years later, and I am still waiting. Only the sport has changed, and the frequency with which I wait has increased. Each occasion is less pleasurable. Why? Because I play cricket on a Saturday, and the roads are inadequate and run by morons. Speaking of whom, our bowling. That's another sense in which I am still waiting. But now, let me be clear. I have a lot of time for moss, but it has served its time. I am not advocating the total destruction of moss, far from. There are learned and sane people in the world who can demonstrate that there is scope for more moss in the world. I might count myself as one. The benefits are huge. Water retention and humidity alone have implications for revitalising our ever-diminishing temperate rainforests, by the way. But that aside, it can seriously reduce the quantity of CO2 in the atmosphere. Judging by the huge distances we have to travel to play cricket, in and out of the county of Middlesex, would you believe, the league should be sponsoring growth of huge amounts of the stuff and subsidising our psychotherapist bills. So there is need for more moss. But we are past the time of world domination. In the late Ordovician, that's 450 million years ago, JB, that's a very long time, Will, the stuff dominated the world. It was literally everywhere, to the extent that nothing else got a look in. Its success came from the fact that it could adapt to change and move in on recently disrupted environments. There's a lot of disruption to once well-established cricket venues at present. And once we have navigated the long and winding road to Ickenham, still nowhere near the county of Middlesex by the time we get there, we are made aware that somewhere in this outer-lying region they are making a play for a new dominant species. It will break out from Ickenham's third ground, where it is already well established and killing off the grass. An unusual feature of how this species took hold, let me be clear, is that there is visually no disturbance to the surrounding environment. Only the occasional 4-foot-tall stem of wild grass provides any variation to the topography. It's a sure sign that management of the ground consists merely of a quick whip around with a manual push mower on the outfield once a fortnight. The species in question? I am speaking of broadleaf plantain, of course. A species that is much less desirable than moss. I mean, moss gets a bad press from lawn nuts who think they can recreate Wimbledon in their back garden. But broadleaf plantain, that is the real enemy. Well, now, let me be clear. Any species that thinks it should exist at the expense of all others is the enemy. Species, culture, call it what you will, it's all the same, just dressed differently. Well, resilience and adaptability might be what allowed them to take hold, but in the end, they become inadaptable. They don't just adapt to the environment, they are the environment. And the world becomes a profoundly different place. Less interesting, less dynamic. Then the world, nature, has a way of saying, enough, you're out of here. You have brought about drastic change that can no longer be tolerated. Nature will not tolerate the intolerant. Massive cathartic events take place once the tipping point is breached. So if you want change, you have to fight for it. That is the true expression of resilience. You can't just throw in the towel and allow one culture to take hold. Then everything gets destroyed. Time to go figure. I might reference batting here. Some prevailed because they know something others do not. Why? because we have a problem here. Let me tell you something about what is lacking in most cricket manuals. I've read them through, from Jack Hobbs to Tony Gregg to Geoffrey Boycott. I stopped after that because I'd worked it out myself. And even I, at the age of 12, thought Boyce's advice to be circumspect with the lofted drive a bit too cautious. At least that's how I remember it. The point is, as a collective, these boys are considered old school now, especially Jack with his references to running knickers. But even they, with their emphasis on sound technique and staying in, made a huge omission. What is the first thing that they teach you? The forward defensive, especially Boycott. Well, let me tell you, there is something more fundamental than the forward defensive. And I have to say, on today's showing, only 3 of us know about it. Let me enlighten you then. It is called the leave. It is a key part of batting. When you are new to the crease, it avoids committing to playing the ball when your timing is most suspect. It gives you a chance of progressing later. But none of my former bookish tutors taught it, and it certainly won't be covered now, and so none of my teammates of a younger generation use it. More the pity. It is another example of not being able to adapt, to change. The belief that there is only one culture to abide by, one way to play, brings about the inevitable demise again. First the player, then the team, then the whole damn culture of cricket can't adapt. It thinks it's adapting, becoming more marketable, but it leaves no room for appreciation of the diversity of skills required, the nuances, the unsensational and hence indetectable discipline. Then there is the bowling, of course. Yes, I'm still talking about us. Where was the resilience at the start? Where was the holding true to our roots and digging in? Roots have strong powers of penetration, you know. Any plant or tree will tell you that. Everything starts with the roots. These have to be established before anything up top, visible, can thrive. Some of us are not investing in taking hold. We are too concerned with looking good up top, prematurely, and we look like a bunch of pot plants. So the Oppo were well happy. The dominant culture of cricket they tried to play was given full licence by our loss of control. Time to go figure. The end.